So this one says, I want to buy my first house, but is it even possible with credit card debt? I'm 33 and my husband is 36. We decided we want to buy our first house together. We both earn about $120,000 per year and have very stable careers. We're paying $2,200 per month in rent alone. A mortgage would cost us the same, if not less. My husband does not have nearly as much debt as me, just the $5,000 left on his student loans at a low interest rate. The real problem was my reckless behavior with my finances when I was younger. I had to support myself while in college and as a result racked up $43,000 in credit card debt. I've been working insanely hard to pay it off and have knocked out about $10,000 in the last 3 months, but it has not been easy. I'd really like to make this next leap and move on with my life. My minimum payments across the different cards add up to about $1,200 per month. Nearly all of them are at 25 interest rate or higher. Is buying a home even in the picture? Do I have to pay off more debt first? Home prices around us are about $450,000 just for a townhome. I know that just one of our salaries won't be enough to qualify for a mortgage. Any suggestions would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I just want to highlight something they said in the beginning, that they're paying $2,200 per month in rent alone, and a mortgage would cost them the same, if not less. Guarantee you, you're not going to be paying, even if your mortgage itself was below what you're paying in rent, your monthly cost for housing is probably going to go up a decent chunk. I mean, you have so many other expenses that are going to come with home ownership that you're just not having right now. And I think this dream or this vision, which I think is great to have, is probably kind of clouding your path forward a little bit, because you're like kind of getting starry-eyed, like, oh, we make great incomes, we can really just get into this home. Like, I don't know. I think they need to just pump the brakes a little bit. Like, they both make really good incomes. Why not just buckle down for the next year or even year and a half, pay off your debt, like get yourselves in a really good financial position. You can save up, a pretty decent down payment for a home. Like, I don't know. I feel like if you both make over $100,000 a year, like, could you live off one person's income and then use the other person's income to pay off debt and save? Like, you could then save like crazy at that point. So I don't know. I don't think I do think that they are kind of getting ahead of themselves and allowing this vision that they have for what they want their life to look like to kind of get in the way of reality and maybe taking the best approach forward.
Yeah, I immediately thought like patience. Like she was like,
patience.
She's like, I've been working so hard and knocked out 10,000 of debt in the past 3 months. Girl, that's a lot. Like, you need to like slow down for a second and like celebrate the small wins, because if you don't, you're getting ahead of yourself. Like you said, like they're immediately like just kind of getting lost in like the vision of the future, that they're just like not living in the present. Like, okay, if you've done that in the past 3 months, 10,000, like you're like a fourth of the way there. You know what I mean? Like, you could finish this in a year and then you guys you don't have any credit card debt at that point. So then you can save up a ton of money, because by that time your husband's probably paid, his $5,000 of student loans are probably paid off. And then you guys have an amazing income to be able to save together. So just slow down for a second and understand that you don't have to have it all done today, but you should definitely get your credit card paid off before you own a home. Because as someone who used to say that, I used to say before I bought my first house, I would say, it's so much cheaper just to buy. Until you buy a home, and then you're like, it is not cheaper to buy a home. So get the credit cards cleaned up, because if you don't, you're probably going to go back into credit card debt potentially with the purchase of a house.
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably map out the next like 12 to 18 months, like get really tight on what your budget is, what are your monthly expenses, and because you're renting, you probably have lower monthly expenses for housing. I would map all that out and figure out how much can we put towards this debt. Like if the goal is to buy a home, let that be the sole focus for the next 12 to 18 months. Like it may feel like a lot when you're in that first, second, or third month, but like in 2 or 3 years down the road, like that goes by so quick. So map out a plan. How much can you start, just extra money? How much can you start throwing towards the debt and then putting towards savings each month? And then you can literally map out, okay, in 12, 18 months, I will probably have these debts wiped out, both of our debts, and maybe I could save up like a 10 to 20% down payment on a home. Like you probably do live in an expensive area if 450 just gets you a townhome, but like you can at least start to see like, okay, if we just take our time with this and we don't kind of get greedy, we don't get ahead of ourselves, we can really set ourselves up to do this right. And instead of allowing this dream of owning a home to turn into a nightmare, you can actually approach it the right way. And you can get into that house, feel really good about yourselves, have your debts wiped out, have an emergency fund, like investing for retirement. You can kind of like line up all the different parts of your personal finances if you just, like you said, practice patience, take a little time with this. I don't think you need to get ahead of yourselves and just jump into a home, make your situation probably like 10 times worse if you do that.
Yeah. And I think we don't make great decisions whenever we're making decisions based off of emotion rather than logic. You and I see this all the time. Money is very emotional, especially big purchases like homes and weddings and all that good stuff. People really get ahead of themselves and want to jump into it because they feel like that's the next step. But we really just need to take a step back and realize you're going to get there, and you're going to be way better off if you just slow down and do what you're going to do, pay off your credit cards, and then approach the home buying after that's all done and you have a down payment saved up.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap, tackle those credit cards, like slow down and take your time with this long-term vision, and then go like batshit crazy on paying off those credit cards, pay off that student loan. I imagine if you're making 120 grand per year each, that you probably have a good retirement plan at work. Like think about maxing out those 401ks, or at least investing up to the employer match, then aggressively save for the home. Just do it right. I think that's going to be the best move forward.
The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.